It was a warm Friday evening, the kind that promises a perfect start to the weekend. 19-year-old Sasha Hartley clocked out from her part-time job at a local bookstore just like she did every week. She grabbed her bag, waved goodbye to her coworkers, and stepped out into the twilight. At 7:15 p.m., she sent a text to her mom, a simple, reassuring message. On the way. Those were the last words her family would ever hear from her. And then, nothing. Just an unnerving, deafening silence. Sasha's route home was one she knew by heart. It included a well-trodden shortcut through a quiet residential area. A path she'd taken hundreds of times without a second thought. Security footage from a nearby home captured her turning onto that path, her silhouette briefly illuminated by a street lamp before she was swallowed by the evening shadows. That was the last time anyone saw Sasha Hartley. Her phone went dead shortly after her final text, its signal vanishing from the network. Her usually active social media accounts fell silent. It was as if she had simply stepped off the face of the earth. The initial hours turned into a frantic day, then a desperate week. Police launched a full-scale search. Volunteers, friends, and family combed through every park, every alleyway, every patch of woods in the area. They called her name until their voices were hoarse, their pleas echoing into empty spaces. News crews descended on the small town, plastering Sasha's smiling face across television screens. She was described as a bright, responsible young woman, a student with dreams of becoming a writer, someone who would never just run away. Her disappearance made no sense. There were no signs of a struggle, no ransom notes, no clues left behind. Just a gaping hole where a vibrant young life used to be. As weeks turned into months, the national media attention faded. The search parties grew smaller. The police leads dried up, one by one. Sasha's case was officially classified as cold, but for her family, the search never ended. Her mother, her father, her younger brother, they kept her story alive. They held vigils, handed out flyers, and maintained a website dedicated to finding her. Her bedroom was left untouched, a time capsule of a life interrupted, waiting for her to return. On telephone poles and community bulletin boards, Sasha's missing posters remained. Her smile, once bright and full of hope, slowly bleached by the sun. The paper curling and peeling at the edges faded, heartbreaking reminder of a mystery that refused to be solved. The world, for the most part, moved on. 3 long, agonizing years passed. Most people assumed the worst. A tragic, but unfortunately common story of a young woman who met a terrible fate. But what if the story wasn't over? What if everyone was wrong? No one knew that Sasha Hartley was still alive. And more disturbingly, no one knew she was hidden in plain sight, much closer than they could ever have imagined. To understand what really happened, we have to go back to that final security camera image. What the grainy footage didn't show was a car parked just beyond the camera's view, its engine off, waiting in the darkness. Inside that car was someone Sasha knew. It's not a close friend, but a familiar face from her community, a man named Ben Carter. Ben was a quiet, unassuming man in his late 30s who worked as a local handyman. He was known for being a bit of a loner, but harmless. He'd done some repair work at the bookstore where Sasha worked, and they'd had a few brief, polite conversations. He'd developed a secret, intense obsession with her, constructing a fantasy world in his mind where they were destined to be together, convinced himself that Sasha secretly wanted to escape her life, and that he was the one who could save her. So that Friday, he waited. When he saw her approach, he called out her name. Sasha, recognizing him, paused. He told her his car had broken down and asked if she could help him for just a moment, maybe just hold a flashlight. Being the kind person she was, she agreed. It was a small act of kindness that would seal her fate. The moment she stepped near the car, he grabbed her. He was stronger than he looked, and he subdued her quickly, silencing her before she could scream. He forced her into a hidden compartment in the back of his work van. From there, he drove not to some remote cabin in the woods, but just a few miles away to his own home. A nondescript house on a quiet suburban street, right in the middle of the very town that was desperately searching for her. He had spent months preparing for this. In his basement, he had built a soundproofed room, a cell designed to hold a person captive. It had a reinforced door, no windows, and was hidden behind a false wall in his workshop. This is where Sasha would spend the next 3 years of her life. Her life became a terrifying, monotonous routine. Ben wasn't physically violent in the traditional sense, but the psychological torment was relentless. He would bring her food, books, and sometimes he would just sit and talk to her for hours, spinning his delusional narrative about how they were a couple, how he was protecting her from a cruel world. He controlled every aspect of her existence. He told her that her family had given up on her, that everyone believed she was dead. He would show her old news clippings about her disappearance to prove it. Sasha tried to escape countless times in the beginning. She screamed until her throat was raw. She banged on the walls. She looked for any weakness in her prison, but the room was a fortress. Over time, a sense of profound hopelessness began to set in, yet a tiny spark of defiance refused to be extinguished. She knew she had to survive. She started playing along, pretending to believe his delusions, subtly gaining his trust. It was a long, dangerous game, a tightrope walk between compliance and survival. Meanwhile, on the surface, Ben Carter continued his life as normal. He went to work. He nodded to his neighbors. He bought groceries. No one suspected a thing. He even casually mentioned to a neighbor once how tragic the Sasha Hartley case was. He hid his dark secret behind a mask of complete and utter normalcy. The police had even questioned him briefly in the early days of the investigation, as they did with hundreds of other local residents and acquaintances. But he was calm, polite, and had a simple alibi. He said he was home alone watching a movie that night. With no evidence to suggest otherwise, they moved on. He was right under their noses the entire time. The breakthrough came from the most unexpected of places. Ben's elderly mother, who lived in another state, had a fall and needed him to come and care for her for an extended period. Ben was torn. He couldn't leave Sasha alone for weeks, but he also couldn't risk taking her with him. In his twisted logic, he decided he had to trust her. He told Sasha he would be gone for a month, and that if she was good, he would bring her a special gift when he returned. He rigged a system to leave her with enough food and water, believing his years of psychological control had made her completely subservient. He warned her that he had cameras everywhere, and that if she tried anything, he would know. It was a lie. There were no cameras. It was his final, desperate attempt to maintain control from a distance. For the first few days after he left, Sasha was paralyzed by fear. Was this another one of his tricks? Was he hiding somewhere, watching her? But as the days stretched into a week, the silence was different. It felt real. The spark of defiance that had been smoldering within her finally burst into flame. She began to test her prison again, this time with a new sense of urgency. She used a metal spoon she had managed to hide to start chipping away at the plaster around the door frame. It was slow, agonizing work. Days turned into another week. Her fingers were raw, her body ached, but she didn't stop. Finally, she managed to pry one of the hinges loose. Using all her strength, she pulled and pushed until the heavy door finally gave way. She emerged from the basement like a ghost, her eyes blinking in the dim light of the house. She was weak, pale, and disoriented. The house was quiet. She crept upstairs and looked out a window. She saw familiar houses, the street she grew up on just a few blocks away. The reality of her proximity to home all this time was overwhelming. She stumbled to the front door, unlocked it, and stepped outside. The sun on her skin felt alien. A neighbor watering his lawn looked up and stared, his jaw dropping in disbelief. He recognized her instantly from the faded missing posters. He called 911, his voice trembling as he told the dispatcher, "You're not going to believe this, but I think Sasha Hartley is standing on my lawn." Sasha's return was a miracle that no one had dared to hope for. Reunion with her family was an emotional, gut-wrenching scene that brought an entire community to tears. Ben Carter was arrested as he was driving back into town, completely unaware that his secret world had crumbled. Sasha Hartley's story is a harrowing testament to the strength of the human spirit. It's a reminder that hope can survive in the darkest of places, and that monsters sometimes wear the most ordinary faces. Sasha is now slowly, carefully rebuilding her life, surrounded by the family who never, ever gave up.